Right, guys. So yesterday we started user-defined exceptions and how to design your user-defined exceptions here, and we said here. And second one is called now, rising user-defined exception name and handling by using user-defined exception name. Okay, now if you see the first step, okay, declaration. So how we can go to do this? Thanks for this in this. So how to design this user-defined exception means, okay. So here I want to give it my, so user-defined exception name, and here I want to send your exception, the predefined statement, we should pass it. So this is my syntax of the user-defined exceptions want to create. And after creating this user-defined exception, then the second step we have here, the rise exception name. So in this rising of exception, there are two syntaxes, that means two methods are there. Okay, in this case. Okay, so what I'm saying here, to rise an exception or a user-defined exception name, okay, they have here two methods. Okay, they have two methods or two statements. Two statements. What is the first one is say, the statement number one, the statement one, okay, that is called as your rise statement, and the syntax was, okay, so I'm giving here, so rise statement, here I want to give my user defined exception name, and the second statement was there, okay, the statement number two. So what is the statement number two here? So we have syntax, okay, so, and that was we called as here rise underscore application underscore error of your number comma message. The two arguments are there. So these are the guys here, the two statements when we need to rise your user defined exceptions names, and the rise statement, rise underscore application underscore error statements. Okay. So now after that, the third step we called as what now? Handling user defined, okay, handling exceptions by using user defined exception name. So in this case, the syntax will be the like this here. So when, and I want to pass user defined exception name. Okay. So, and we said then, okay, and right here, user friendly message. So user messages. And finally, end. And before this, and this is where you want to write here under exception block. Okay, now these are the three steps. So in previously what we discussed, user defined exceptions. Okay, right down below. So, but here observe. Here the two statements I said when you want to raise your user defined exceptions names. One is rise statement and one is rise underscore application underscore error statement. Then what is the differences between rise and rise underscore application? And when I want to use rise statement, and if I use rise statement, what it was happen? If I'm using rise statement, rise underscore application underscore error, what it was happen here? Observe. There is some difference was there here. So here itself, I will give some note point. What is my note point, guys? Here, okay. So rise statement. If I'm using rise, this statement is going to be what it will do means to rise an exception, and handling an exception. So it was rising and also handling. So what exception was raised here? That exception is handle. Okay now. But when come to the rise underscore application underscore error, okay now, this statement, what it will do, guys, here, this is to rise an exception, but not handling, handling. So this is the difference of rise and rise underscore application underscore error. Okay. So rise statement when I'm using rising and also handling, but rise underscore application underscore error rising but not handling. Okay. Then the question is come to you. If it is not handling, then why we want to use okay. Yes. So why we want to use in coming concepts, you can understand, especially in triggers, when you're working with the triggers, at the time, this rise underscore application underscore error will be, you can understand that I'm showing why it was need for us, okay, in our triggers. Okay. At the time, you will get more clarity. Okay. Now, right. Clear? Note points clear? Note points write down. Important. Next, third statement. Okay. The next. The third one is handling your exception by using of user defined exception name. Okay. Right. So let me see some example on these three statements, how it was going to be used. And so here two examples I'm showing. One example on rise statement, one example on rise underscore application underscore error. Okay. The first example, okay, example with rise statement. Example with the rise statement. Okay. So in this, let me come to guys. So now here, observe. The first of all, okay, so I'm going to declare here, carefully observe. So X is number and Y is number and Z is number. And in declaration part, I'm going to declaring my exception. My exception name is EX. User defined exception name is what now? EX. X and exception is a predefined statement. This is my first step, how to declare user defined exception name. So what is my user defined exception name is? Come on, EX. And exception is what? Predefined statement to declaration of your user defined exception name. Okay. So the declarations are over. Then after I enter into execution block, and here I'm sending X is equals to ampersandage of X because I want to take X and Y values into dynamically. And next, Y is equals to ampersandage of Y. And after that, here I was writing one condition, if else condition I'm writing. If Y is equals to 0, then immediately I need to raise my exception name. What is my user defined exception name? EX. Okay. So rise the statement I'm using now. When my exception will be rise here, when Y is equals to 0. When Y is equals to 0, then immediately I want to rise my user defined exception name. And suppose your Y is not equals to 0, then where I want to go? Else part. In else part, what I want to go to write here. So Z is equals to X by Y. And in this only Dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of Z. Understand my point now? Yes. And what we want to do finally? End if else condition. So if else statement is ended. After ending this if else statement, then I want to write here which block? Exception block. In exception block, what I want to write? What is my exception name? EX. Then I need to write some statement. Dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of then what is the message? Second number, okay, not be 0. Simple I'm writing now. Not be 0. Second number means Y value. So it not be 0 and end my, what is this? Begin statement should be end here and come to execute our program. So now here observe the three steps where it is means this is my first step. Declaration of user defined exception name. This is step 1. And rise user defined statement or user defined exception name. This is second step. Okay. And this is the using, that means by using of user defined exception name, I'm going to handle exceptions by using of exception block. This is called as a step number 3. Are you clear my 3 steps? Okay. So when we want to create our own exception name, then there are three steps are there. First one, declaration. Declaration is over. Second one, rising. Third one, by using user defined exception name. By using user defined exception name, I am handling. So declaration, rise, handle, or these three I was taken here. Clear now? Right. So let me see guys here. Okay. Then I want to enter this. X value 10, then Y value giving here 5. And the output is, okay, output is not showing. Why it is not showing? Yes. Set server output is on and set verify is off. And now again, I just call it here. X value 10, Y value 2, and 5 is come to us. There is nothing problem. But when I will send 10 and Y value what? 0. So when I entered 0, immediately what it was happen guys here? Now Y is equals to 0, condition will be true. Yes or no? Yes. When condition is true, immediately what it was happen? Your exception will be fired. That means raised immediately. And whatever the exception is raised here, which exception is raised here? Divisor is equals to 0. Divisor is equals to 0. Exception will be raised, and the same exception, whatever it was raised here, that was immediately what it was doing? Handling. Okay. So which exception is raised here? That exception immediately handle. Immediately handle. So handling, how you can handle? By using user defined exception name. By using user defined exception name, whatever the exception is raised here, so that was rising and also handling here itself. And what it was say? Second number should not be 0. Let me see. If I'm giving Y is equals to 0 and then entered, then see what happened. Second number should not be 0. PLS procedure successfully completed. So that means in this program, I'm using which statement? Rise statement. So rise statement, what it will do? Rising and also handling. Okay, now? Right now. So take this one. Okay, right. So this rise statement, rising your exception, which was occurred y equals to 0, and it was handle your exception. This is rise statement advantage, guys. But in the same thing, when I'm going to using what next I said, rise underscore application error. So if I'm using this one, okay, then what it was happen, you can see now. Now take an example on, okay, otherwise I'm taking simply. So by using, what is this? Rise underscore application underscore error. So here observe this application, that means that the statement which we said, the statement is used, guys, here. This is used to rise an exception, to rise an exception, but not handling, okay, but not handling an exception here, but not handling an exception. Okay, and this function, okay, this function is having here how many arguments? Two arguments are there. So two arguments, okay, are, so what is my first argument in this? What is the first argument here? Number. And here carefully observe, what is number? Here, can you find out in the previous examples, every exception when it was fired and it was raised, your exception error message along with message some number also there. Can you find out now? In the previous examples, every exception is having some number. So this is now those numbers, whatever it was given us, those are predefined numbers. That means Oracle was defined like no data found, okay, too many rows, 0 underscore divide, cursor already open, invalid cursor, number value error, yes or no? So these all kind of things, what it was going to be happen, guys, here, those are predefined numbers, predefined messages, which was written by Oracle. But here, what it was advantage for me by using of rise underscore application underscore error. So whatever the number you need to assign for your exception, that number you should give it. Who want to give it? User will give it. Yes or no? My own number I can assign. And your message means my own message I can assign. Okay. And the number, whatever I said, this number should be, okay, this number should be from minus 20,001 to minus 20,999. In between this number, you can use it. Okay. From where it is minus 20,001 to minus 20,999, in between any number you can give as your wish. Okay. That is number here. And come to next one is called as what now? Message. So this argument, what it was saying here, this message argument, user want to give. That means user defined error message. User defined error message. So number and message, these two can be assigned by programmer when I'm using rise underscore application underscore error. Okay. Let me see the same example. I will take it here. So 1 second. The same example I'm taking, but little bit modification I'm doing now. Okay. The program I'm taking now for this example also. So, but here observe. So what and where I want to change. Okay. Now, in place of this, okay, in place of this dbms underscore output, now I want to pass here. What I'm passing here? Rise underscore application underscore error of number minus 2478 something, whatever the in between range value. And my exception is what now? Message second number not 0. Okay, now these are I'm passing. And now when I was use my rise underscore application underscore error, the statement what it will do, exception will be firing here, but that exception cannot be handled. So it will be stopping your handling of exception, which was rise here. That exception cannot be handling here. It was leaving your exception as it is. Okay. Let me see this entire the program. I'm just to copy here and to executing on my the SQL plus. Okay. Come back and execute it here. Okay. Now, so now it was asking here 10 and 10 by 5. Okay. Then output 2, there is nothing problem. But when I was sent here 10, but 10 by 0, what it was happened? The 0 means what now? Y is equal 0 condition to your exception is rise here by the statement of rise statement. But that exception, when try to handling here, then your rise underscore application is going to be stopping your exception, and exception will not be handled. Why? Because this application or this statement will never handling your exceptions. It was just rising, and that information is rising on the screen which exception is occurred, but it never handled. Let me see what it was happened. So I'm giving 10 by 0. Then what it was happen if I entered? See what it was say. It was rise your exception, but any handling here? Handling? No. PLSQL procedure successfully completed. No. It was showing what now? Declaration and saying error at line number 1. And see my number, my own number, whatever I was given, minus 2478. Can I given this one now? Yes, my own exception number I was assigned. Okay, now my own number. So I was assigned, and my message, this message also given by who? User, my message. And now see the error is there at line number where? 17. So where is 17 here? Here. Understand now? So there, whatever the rising your exception, that cannot be handled. So that's why exception is rise. That means error is raised, but not handle. So that's why here, see my PLSQL procedure previously successfully done. But when I was entered value 0, y value 0, then it was not showing any handling message. It was only showing what now? Error message to you, but it is never handled. But why, sir? Why we want to use this? Okay. So maybe this we can't use, or we didn't use mostly in our exception concept, but this can use under triggers concepts mostly. Okay. So at the time, again, I will explain to you how it was working. Okay. Right. So below write down this example. Okay. So you enter y is equals to 0, then message error will come to you. Right. And below this one also I don't. So what is your user defined exception number which was given, and your message also, whatever it was given. Okay, right. So in this all examples, either user defined or predefines, whatever it was, generally exceptions are occurred and exception will be rise here. Can you find out in this all examples in which block your exceptions are raised here? Declaration block or execution block? Execution block. And generally, even though generally your exceptions also occurred in which blocks? Execution block only occurred. And whatever the exception was raised under execution blocks, those execution block exceptions are we handle by using exception block. Exception block we are using to handling exceptions which was rising under execution block. That is common process. Generally it was happening. Okay. But sometimes what it was happen, my exception is not under execution. My exception will occur under declaration block. Okay, now suppose your exception, generally exceptions are only execution. 99.99 where it was occurred, execution block only occurred. But one point, whatever we said, the 1%, that one point there is a chance to occur in declaration block. Then how we want to handle exceptions which was raised under declaration block? Understand concept now? So whenever your exception is occurred under declaration block, and those exceptions how to handle. Okay. And that was we called as here. Okay. The next statement write down. Exception propagation. Exception propagation. Exception propagation. Okay, right. Exception propagation technique or mechanism where you want to use, guys, means that you want to use at your exceptions can be handled under declaration block. Okay, so that means generally what it was happening, you can see right down below. So generally exceptions or exception block can handle exceptions which was raised in execution block. So generally exception block can handle exceptions which was raised in execution block only, or execution block. Okay, execution block. Okay, but if we want to, if you want to handle, exception or exceptions, handle exceptions which was raised in declaration block. In which block here? Declaration. So in declaration block, then we use a mechanism then we use a mechanism is called as the mechanism is called as a exception propagation. What we called exception propagation we called. Okay, right. So what we said finally, generally exception block can handle exceptions which was raised in execution block. But if we want to handle exceptions which was raised in a declaration block, then there we are using one mechanism. The mechanism is called as what now? Exception propagation. Exception propagation. So now how this mechanism I need to implement, sir? Means if you want to implement this exception propagation mechanism or technique, if I want to use to avoid my exceptions from your declaration block, so how I can implement this mechanism means, so I can implement this mechanism with the help of nested PLSQL blocks. How I can implement here? Nested PLSQL blocks. So what do you say? To implement exception propagation mechanism. Okay, to implement exception propagation, okay, mechanism, to implement exception propagation mechanism, then we use then we need to allowed, then we need to allowed what I want to allowed, nested PLSQL block. Nested PLSQL block. Okay, right. So now you can see one small example. Now I'm using here, observe carefully. So come to my example. The first I'm going to declare, okay, one variable, suppose x, and I'm sending varchar 2 of the size was given 3. That means x is a varchar 2 variable, data type variable, and to this variable I'm assigning one name is called as for example Smith. I was given. But tell me guys here, your x variable data type size is how much here? 3, but I'm assigning 5. Or otherwise, even though we can assign what now, simply word. I'm assigning how many? 4 characters of name string I'm assigning to x variable. But tell me guys here, is it allowed? No. Why? Because my data type size of x variable how much? 3, but we are assigned how many characters of name? 4. What happened? You can see. Okay, I was given like this, begin, and I'm saying dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of, what is that? X. I need to print. And after that, what I'm using here itself only, I'm using exception block also. Okay, exception. When, what is the exception here? Value underscore error. This is one more exception, predefined exception name. If it is, okay, then what I want to display, dbms underscore output dot put underscore line of, what I want to say, invalid, simple I'm writing, okay, invalid string, what? Length. So some user friendly statement I was given. After that, what we want to do, end my begin statement and to execute now. So in this case, carefully observe here, my exception where it was occurred, that was clearly we knows that. Yes or no? It was occurring exception at which level? Declaration level. But still, I was using exception block also. I'm using exception block also. Suppose if your exception, this exception block will be printing invalid string length is printed, it means that your exception is handled. If it is not printed, it means your exception is not handled. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. Suppose whatever the exception block I was written, that exception block user-friendly message, once it was displayed on my screen, it means that it was handling successfully. If it is not displayed, means your exception is not handling. Simple cause. Okay, right. Let me see what it was happen. I'm going to executing this. Okay, no. Is it handle or not? I was written exception block, but handling or not? Not handling. Still, I have what? Error. What is my error? Numeric or value underscore error. This is I'm using here. Can you observe? Value underscore error is one of the predefined exception name. And now value underscore error exception is occurred. What it was saying that character string buffer too small. Character string buffer. String buffer means what now? This one. This character string buffer is too small to your assigning value. Okay, now my assigning value how much here? 4 characters. Your string buffer how much? 3 memory. So 3, 4 is matching or not matching? No. And can I say my string buffer is a smaller than your string length? Yes or no? My string buffer is smaller than string length. Got it my point? Yes. So that means now we can see my exception is not handled. Still, I have an exception block. I return, but still it is not handling. And now we can see here, your exception is occurred at which line? Line number 2. Line number 2 is comes under where it is a declaration block or execution block? Declaration block. So practically proved now. Where is your exception? In declaration, in execution. In declaration. At line number 2. Line number 2 comes under which block? Declaration block. That means it was confirmed. My exception is raised, not in execution block. My exception is raised under declaration block. That was confirmed. But that exception is handler? No, not handle. Because generally what we said, these exception blocks are handling exceptions which was rising under execution block, we said, which was raised under execution block, then exception block is handling. But now my exception is occurred at a declaration block. So, and this declaration block, whatever exception is occurred, okay, that exception is not handle this. That means here the point is what now? Directly we can't handle. So in that cases, now how my question is what? How we want to handle this exception which was raised under declaration block? What we want to do now? Which a technique I want to implement now? Which a technique I want to implement here? Exception propagation technique. Which technique? Exception propagation technique I want to implement now. Yes or no? Yes. Then how we can implement? By writing of nested PLSQL block. Okay now? Write down below first. Okay, so here below you have to take like a example and take this example first of all, and your exception error message also write down. So completed. Okay, right. So now I need to handle this, and now how we can handle your observe. So this is my program. Okay, and now the same program I'm just taking here, and so what I need to implement here, nested PLSQL block. So by using of this nested PLSQL, I can. So here observe, this is my a normal program, but on this program, I'm applying one begin statement. So begin, okay, under begin, I was written my declaration block. Okay, so this is one, and this is up to here. This is one block, and this is one block. Okay, and here later I'm using one more exception. Okay, and here I want to say when value underscore error, okay, then now I'm giving some message here, Dbms underscore output dot the put underscore line of, then what I want to say, string length is more than 2 x variable length. Okay, now this is one user friendly statement I was given, and after that I need to end here. So here carefully observe, this is called a nested PLSQL block, because year to year, careful observe, year to year, this is called as inner block. This is called as what now? Inner block. And whatever it was there, the begin statement to X, okay, and this outer begin statement exception, okay now. So this part is called as what now? The blue color. This is called as what now? Outer block. Understand now? Careful observe. So begin exception inner, outer also begin exception is there. So that means a block within the block is called as a nested block. A block within the block is called as a nested block. Within the block is called a inner block. Outer block is a outside. Yes or no? But you can observe. Now, outer block exception I was written. What is outer block exception? String length is more than 2 x variable length. My string is what now? This is string. The string length is how much? 4. Your variable length is how much? 3. That means it is less than to 3. Sorry. It is more than to 3 na? Yes. 4 greater than 3. So now you can see here I'm using now. If I'm going to executing this mechanism, what it was happen, your inner block exception block will be handled, or your outer block exception is handling. Carefully observe. Inner block is handled or outer block exception is handled. Careful observe. So outer block exception is handling is called as a exception propagation. Inner block exception is never handled. I already show you. Inner block exception is handling here. No. So then what we used? Nested PLSQL, and nested PLSQL outer means this one. This is one. This outer exception block only handle. So let me see handling or not. I want to execute this entire the program. Okay. And now I'm executing now. So something is missing, guys. What missing? Semicolon? Semicolons. your semicolon. Yes. Okay, now let me come out. Okay, I enter now. So now we can see carefully which exception block is handled, inner or outer? Outer. This is what we called as a exception propagation we called. Exception propagation we call. It means that in inner block exceptions are handling only execution block exceptions. Outer block exceptions are handling declaration block exceptions. Understand now? So this mechanism, whatever we implemented here, this mechanism is called as a exception propagation mechanism. With the help of PLSQL, nested PLSQL block, I can handle my exception which was raised under declaration block. Now we can see which statement is printed here. Outer block exception statement is printed. String length is more than 2, X variable length, yes, and your PLSQL procedure successfully handled. Okay, write down below. So this was, you just put it like this is your outer block, because nested PLSQL block means outer and inner. So outer block, and whatever internally we have here, this is inner block. So nested block implementation we done. Complete, right? So this is what we called as, guys, here the exceptions we called here. Okay, na? Right. And now can you see, as of now, the starting to today, every program you can see exception or previous cursors and previous basics programs. These all programs, can you see, I was saved anywhere? These programs are saved into database? No. So just we are writing some logic, executing, and if you have a exception, we handle and return some output. Okay. But these programs I never saved in my database memory. That means these all programs what we discuss as of now, These all are comes under which blocks? Huh? Anonymous blocks. Very good. So PLSQL supported how many blocks? 2 blocks. Anonymous subblocks. Anonymous blocks, what we said? No name. No name for your block. And in this block, whatever we written code, the code is never saved. And this code cannot be reusable. This code only for testing. Yes or no? That all are happening now? Yes. And in this we declared 3 blocks: declaration, execution, and exceptions. That was over. But these programs are not saved under databases. These are all are comes under which category? Anonymous blocks category. Anonymous blocks category. Okay. Now, so now we will discuss about the next one is what now? Subblocks. And this was what we said. Subblocks are named blocks. In that subblock, whatever we written, that will save and that can reuse. And these subblocks are using at the development side, like in Java applications, in .NET applications, in pure database applications, these blocks are used. Okay, right on. So now take the second blocks. What is the second block? Subblocks. Okay, right. So what we said, subblocks are what we call, sir? These are which type of blocks? Named blocks. These are named blocks. Okay, these are named blocks. And here subblocks are how many types? Means here 4 types. Okay, so we can say there are 4 types of 4 types of subblock objects. Subblocks objects. There are 4 types of subblocks objects. Okay, in that first one is called as stored procedure. Second block is called as stored functions. Third block is called as packages. And the fourth one is called as triggers. Okay, right. So these are the 4 objects we have here, and which was comes under subblocks category: procedures, functions, packages, okay, and triggers. Understand now? Let me see one by one object we will discuss, and how these objects are useful, and how we can go to write the programs and logics in this subblocks. Okay, now? Right. And take first one, the first subblock object that was called a stored procedures. So basically, what is stored procedure? Means that stored procedure simply called as it is a pre-compiled block we called. It's a pre-compiled block we called. So what is the mean by pre-compilation? What does it mean by pre-compilation? Pre-compilation means already compiled, otherwise it's going to compile. Already compiled. So stored procedure is called as a pre-compiled block. That means after compilation of your program, those compilation code is going to be saved under stored procedure block permanently. Which way? Permanent way it was saved. So Then what is the advantage of pre-compilation, guys? I was written some program, right? The program first time I'm going to execute it. And we all of you know this now. Every program before execution, first it will go to compilation. So, okay, I written some program. Okay. And the program when I want to execute, first it will go to compilation. So compilation, each and every line compilation successfully done. And what we said, once compilation of your code is done, then the code will be saved under database. Okay. And which block? Under stored procedure block. And this stored procedure will save under database. Now tell me, is there any advantage when we have a pre-compiled code? Any advantage or drawback? Tell me here. What is my mean? Already compiled code is saved under procedure. Then tell me, is it advantage to save already compiled code or not? Yes, sir? What is advantage? Time saving. Because if I want to execute the same program next time, again it will go to compilation. No need. Why, sir? Already compiled. Concept got it now? Okay, already compiled. So already compiled and the compilation code already saved. Then what is happened in future? If I want to execute the same program, then it doesn't go to compilation. It's directly executed. So that means your compilation time is saved now. Yes or no? Yes. But every time compilation, execution, compilation, execution, compilation, execution, if it will go like this, is it time saving or time consuming? Time consuming. Why? Because for every time my program is going to compilation. Already compiled success, but still it was going to compile again. Compile again. Compile again means a compilation time, execution time. So both are adding. That's why time consuming. But what happened with the help of stored procedure? Compilation time will be removed. Only execution time only taking. That means now time saving now. Yes, that is the advantage of a stored procedure. Is a most important topic for Java students, .NET students, database students. If you go to Java, any interview, they compulsory they asked stored procedure concept. What is stored procedure? Why stored procedure? Advantage of stored procedures. How to create a stored procedures. These are very important topic for you. Okay, now? So that's why in real time also, when you want to develop any Java projects, any .NET, any database, pure databases, most of the people are using procedures. Why, sir? Most of the people, why they want to use, you can understand, observe. So here I said, it stored what now? Pre-compiled block, we say. Okay. And the next one is stored procedure. What it will go to take here means to accept your values. Okay. So it is a pre-compiled block and used and is used to accept input values. Okay, to accept input values from user, comma, to perform, okay, some operation, okay, to perform some operation, and it may be, or may not be, it may be or may not be return a value. This is most important. This is most important statement. Okay, now may be or may not be return a value. Okay, right. So here observe. Okay, sir, it is one of the pre-compiled block, and this block, okay, and this procedure we are used to accepting input values from who? From user. So user, whatever you are sending the values, input values at your execution time, because procedures are not going to compile, only directly executed, because already compiled block already. Yes or no? So when user sending some input values at your execution time, those values are accepted. Who? Procedure will take that values and doing some operation. But after operation is successfully done, what it was saying that maybe, may not be. That means we can't give a statement. We can't give a statement. Procedures are returning value. Don't give that statement. And procedures are never return a value. Don't give that statement. So these two statements you never deliver in front of any interview person. Okay, now? So why? Because what we said, maybe, may not be. So even though if you go to interview, if they will ask you the procedures are written or not, if they will ask you, okay, then what you say? Maybe, may not be, sir. Maybe, may not be, sir. And don't say no and don't say yes. Because here there is what? Optionals are there. That's why we can't confirm. We can't give a statement. It should be written. It should be not written. That kind of statements are, we can't give it. Why? Because procedures are sometimes it return value, sometimes it never returning a value. But when it was returns, when it was not returns. Okay, so that is most important to know it. That I will tell you. So this is what now procedure, what it will do it here. Okay, and now then the question is, the question will come to you, why we need stored procedures? Why we need stored procedures? So this is most important, okay, the topic and question. Okay, why we need to store procedure? Okay, right. So before you want to understand why we need to create stored procedure or why we need stored procedure, you should understand the mechanism of queries. Already we discussed queries in SQL language. But those queries, how it was executing, maybe we are having some doubt. Okay, the query executions, how it was happening. And when I'm using query in my application, while we are inserting time, updation time, deletion time, and selection time, like a registration form, login form, view form, delete form. Okay, so these forms and changing password forms. In these forms, we are using generally query. If I'm using query, what it was happen? In place of query, if I'm using stored procedure, what it was happen? So that means before you want to get a clarity command on procedure, why we need, first we should have some clarity on query execution process. If you know that query execution levels, how it was happening from your application, there you can understand this procedure advantages, and you will understand, okay, so and so reason, okay, this is the reason industry people are using procedures compared to queries. Understand na? So that means first we will discuss about query execution plannings, we will discuss, and after that you automatically can understand this procedure purpose advantage is what. Okay, right. But that we will discuss into tomorrow's session. So tomorrow